Friday's loss stings. Pun intended. I will use that pun a million times. LaMelo Ball's over my shoulder here. Friday's loss stings, and it's unacceptable. So what do the Magic have to learn from it? Is there a cause for concern? That's on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is April 6th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, coming to you here from the Spectrum Center as the Orlando Magic fall to the Charlotte Hornets 124-115 in a shocking defeat. We're going to break it all down coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's great Locked On podcasts covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. The Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day. So, where do we want to start? What do you want to talk about? This was a disappointing loss. No other way to sugarcoat it, no other way to say it. This is an inexcusable defeat. The kind of loss that cannot happen this late in the season. They do happen. The Knicks lost to the Spurs. The Bucks keep losing to bad teams. They lost to the Wizards. They lost to the Grizzlies. They lost to the Raptors tonight. Losses like this happen, and it's honestly, it's not so much that the Magic lost to the Hornets. I'll admit this. Like, coming into this road trip, I thought the Magic were going to split the road trip. I thought they'd win. I thought they'd lose in New Orleans and win here in Charlotte. So it's not that the Magic lost that gets me. This is the NBA. Everyone's going to have a good shooting night. There are some nights where your shots won't go in. Their shots do go in. These are NBA players. Brandon Miller is going to be runner-up. Is not going to be runner-up. He's going to be third in Rookie of the Year voting. These are good players, and you have to treat them with that respect. You have to treat them with that level of intention and intensity. And so it's not that the Magic lost that's bad. Maybe Charlotte was destined to make 15 of 33s in this game. Maybe that's just how this game was going to go. It's just going to be that game where the bad team has their night. And look, the Magic are good enough to win those nights. That happened Monday against Portland. But that's the thing. Now we've had 2 straight games against teams the Magic should beat that they didn't take care of their business. They didn't play with the right intensity, the Magic standard as they keep telling it to us. At a certain point, you got to live up to that standard. You tell us the expectations you want us to set for you. And from the jump in this game, and we're going to get to first quarters here in a minute. From the jump in this game, the Magic just were not engaged. The Magic just were not locked in, not playing with intensity. You could tell from the start that Orlando just didn't have what it was going to take to win this game. You could just tell. They were letting Brandon Miller come around screens with no bump, no physicality, nothing to keep him from just rising up and shooting. And that's what he did. He scored 19 of his 32 points in the first quarter, made his first 10 shots, 10 for 10 in the first half, 5 for 5 from 3. This game wasn't over at that point because the Magic did cut this thing down to 4. In the fourth quarter, they had their chances. But it's a long uphill climb. And so what we have to ask at this stage is, why are these efforts happening? We know this team plays hard. We know what they're capable of doing. Why is this team struggling to meet that level? I'm not going to blame the road trip this time. It was a 2-game road trip. I'm on this road trip. My travel was more ridiculous than theirs. If I didn't tell this story yesterday, but to get to Charlotte from New Orleans, My flight to Atlanta was late. I would have missed my connection. I wouldn't have been able to connect to a later flight in Charlotte. I flew to Detroit and then flew to Charlotte. I was on a plane for 4 hours, pretty much continuously, going hundreds of miles out of my way to make sure I was here in this building tonight. I know the Magic had some plane issues leaving New Orleans, but they also had the day off in Charlotte. So, this wasn't like the loss to Miami that I was at as well, when the Magic just looked gassed. No. This was purely about intensity. And look, I was sitting there watching this game, feeling very, very confident and feeling very, very sure that the Magic could get themselves back in the game, that the Hornets would make mistakes to let them back in the game, that they wouldn't be able to keep up the kind of shooting and intensity that they had. It wasn't like they were stopping them. Orlando was forcing a lot of things. They had to deal with a heavy double team on Paolo Banchero, but it comes down to what this Magic team is about. After we sang their praises yesterday for the physical style of play that they're playing right now, the Magic didn't bring it. Plain and simple. Again, Charlotte shot 60%, 59.7% from floor, 15 for 30 from three, 50% from three. They gave up 50 points in paint, which is pretty good defense for the Magic overall. 25 for 36, though, in the paint. The Hornets got shots they wanted all night long, and there was very little defensive resistance. And that is the unacceptable part. The result is what the result is. Again, maybe this was just going to be Charlotte's night. They happen. We've been in that situation before. How many times have I been yelled at on Twitter for being happy about a Magic win late in the season? Sometimes it's your night, and sometimes it's not your night. It's an 82-game season. So, yes, I'm disappointed in the result, but I'm more disappointed in the process. Because if the Magic played hard, and if it was just a night where their shots weren't falling and their defense kept them in the game, or the Charlotte hit tough shots and just kept hitting tough shots, that would be one thing. And look, Charlotte hit some tough shots late in the game to put this one away. We're going to talk about first quarters here in a minute. But these are the kind of efforts that cannot happen. We cannot be sitting here a week away from the end of the season, a week away from the beginning of the playoffs, 2 weeks away from game one, asking ourselves, why aren't the Magic playing hard? Why aren't the Magic playing with the defensive intensity that we know that they have to play with? That's the part the Magic have to figure out. That's the part the Magic have to respond to at this point. And look, they've responded every time we've asked these questions of them all year. Am I going to be worried about one loss? No, absolutely not. This loss does not change very much about the Magic. It was an opportunity lost in the standings, with the Knicks losing, with the Pacers winning, with the Heat winning. They pick up a game, the Knicks lose, the Bucks lose. It's a missed opportunity to pick up that ground. So it's big. Don't get me wrong. This is we're getting to the point of the season where there are no more extra games. There are no more games to make up for your bad nights. If you have a bad night in the playoffs, you're down 1-0, you're down 2-0, you're down 2-1, you're down 3-1 instead of 2-2. This is not the time to be playing these games, and that's something the Magic have to learn too. But what's concerning is that this is now 2 bad efforts in the last 3 games. 2 nights where the Magic did not respect their opponent with the intensity that they deserve, that they felt they could turn the light switch on and off. The light switch didn't come on at all at the start of the game. We're going to get to that again here in a minute. That's the part that's concerning. Now, Charlotte is the last team the Magic will face that is completely out of the postseason picture. They're going to be playing teams that need wins. Chicago needs a win, to ensure that they stay the 9 seed. Houston will probably be out of the postseason chase. Golden State will probably have that clinched by the time they play them next Tuesday, but Houston's not going to just quit. They're learning stuff. They're gaining stuff too. Milwaukee obviously needs to beat Orlando to hold them off and eliminate them from getting number 2. Orlando is probably Milwaukee's biggest threat right now to the 2 seed because we play them twice. Philadelphia is obviously fighting for 7, fighting for 6 even, if they can get that high. Every single one of these games are going to matter, and every single one of these games are going to naturally bring intensity. The Magic won't have to bring intensity to those games. It will be there. It'll be baked into the opponent. So maybe that's the issue. The Magic had a bad night for the first time in a long time against a bad team. This is very reminiscent of the Grizzlies loss, to be perfectly honest. But the Magic have to get this right. They cannot have these lifeless efforts. They know what they're about. They know who they are. They know what their identity is. And all that was left in New Orleans when they arrived in Charlotte for this game. So let's get to the root of the problem then. Because the root of the problem is the first quarter. And that's not something that's just about this game. We'll talk about the Magic's first quarter problems coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood is the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right. No cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel. There are so many choices for sports. You want the best. You want the best analysis. You want the local perspective. You want the people that know their teams best. People come up to me. They came up to me here in the Spectrum Center and said, I listen to you all the time. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And look, I appreciate all of you too. I need to get stickers so I can give out some goodies for listening to me here. I got my Locked On Pelican sticker from our friend Jackson here. If you want the best sports information, the expert sports information, you got to go to Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. It's a channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming that you get on the national networks. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's reductive to say that this game was over after the first quarter, because after all, the Magic cut the lead down to 4 early in the fourth quarter. Then they give up a 10-0 run. And the players kind of mentioned after the game that, they had enough to get back in the game. They obviously kept fighting. They had the bad first quarter and they kept fighting. So they stayed in this game, but you're fighting uphill so much. You're down 15 after one quarter, 38-23 after the first quarter. Brandon Miller, again, has 19 points in that quarter, outscores the whole Magic starting lineup. You're climbing uphill so much, and then your legs just kind of give out. You get fatigued because Jamal Mosley rode lineups that were working because nothing was working tonight. And so the Magic got themselves back into the game and then could not hit the shots that they needed to get over the hump, to finish the job. After getting within 4, they give up a 10-0 run. Game's, it's not over, but it's essentially over at that point because the Magic just could not get a shot to go down in that fourth quarter when they absolutely needed it to get over. And look, that's fatigue. So I want to give the Magic at least that little bit of credit for fighting, but obviously they needed more. Obviously they needed stops, and those weren't coming. And every time it felt like they were getting close and getting over that hump, Charlotte hit him with a big run and kind of ended any thought of that. That's what happened in this game. But we got to talk about the first quarter because that's where it all starts. Steve Clifford, back when he was in Orlando, not here in Orlando, but back when he was in Orlando, would say games are won and lost in the first quarter. You can't just look at the fourth quarter and say, oh, that's why they lost. And, again, down by 4, gave up a 10-0 run. That's big reason. But it all started with the first quarter when the Magic were down by 15, when the Magic didn't set the right tone to the game. And unfortunately, unlike some of the energy problems that we're seeing, this has been a repeated problem for the team. In fact, the Magic have lost 7 of the last 8 first quarters. None as bad as tonight. Friday night was the first time that they were down double digits. So they were out of the game very early. But this has been a problem. The Magic starting group with Gary Harris, so it's Jalen Suggs, Gary Harris, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter, has a plus 9.8 net rating. Really good. 113.4 offensive rating, 103.5 defensive rating. Offense is whatever. Defense is really good. They've been very successful, and we've tracked how successful they've been. This is the Magic starting lineup. It absolutely should be. The numbers say it should be. But in the first quarters, that same starting 5 is a minus 5.4 net rating, a 103.9 offensive rating, and a 109.3 defense rating. And defense is still pretty good for the most part, but they struggle to score. They struggle out of the gate. So what ends up happening is sometimes you're going to have a game like this where the shots aren't falling and the defense isn't working. So the Magic, they're plus 14.9 points per 100 possessions in the third quarter. That's how good they are in the third quarter. And again, they were good like that in the third quarter. They cut the lead down to 6 pretty quickly from 15 to give themselves a chance. Then they gave up a 10-2 run or an 11-2 run that put it back up to 15. The Magic, again, have lost the first quarter in 7 of their last 18 games. They are one of the worst first quarter teams in the league. I believe they have minus 2.2 net rating in first quarters this entire season. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is why the Magic lost this game. And it's good that, they got their comeuppance. They've been playing with fire. They got burned. They got burned at the worst time and the worst way in a game that they absolutely have to have just because these are games you can't drop. And again, teams are dropping games like this all the time. So it's not – it was bound to happen to the Magic. Their record is pretty good. I still think they have the most wins against teams with records below 500 in the NBA. So it's not like this has been a huge problem. These losses stand out because they're rare. But the first quarter problems have been something that have existed for a very long time for this team. And while they're getting away with it in the regular season, in the playoffs, they're going to face more deficits like this one. In the playoffs, if they play the way that they've been playing in the first quarter, they're going to have more games like this one. And that's the part that has to change. I don't know if it's a lineup change because the lineup clearly works. The problem isn't the Magic starting lineup. The problem is reading the defense quickly, attacking the defense the right way, making some shots early, and defending with the right intensity, which obviously they didn't do tonight. They didn't do that here against the Hornets. This is what the Magic are battling right now because you can't play from behind in the playoffs. You have to prevent yourself from playing from behind in the playoffs as much as possible. Because, frankly, when you're playing from behind, your margin for error is smaller. Your margin for error is it's minuscule. It doesn't exist. And you could see that throughout the course of this game. When Paolo Banchero was trying to force action because nothing was working. The team was trying to get back. You abandoned some of the ball movement. Look, Orlando had 24 assists. Like they still moved the ball. 24 assists on 42 makes. It's okay. You abandon ball movement because you're trying to just make something happen to get back in the game. And you're trying to do something, anything to find some energy. That's what the Magic struggled with in this game. And if they're not down 15, maybe everyone takes a deep breath. Maybe everyone plays a little freer. Maybe the Magic come back and win this game. They've done that every single game, it feels like, over the last 2 weeks. But being down big, that hurts. That's the kind of stuff that kills you. And this has been a repeated problem for the Magic. If there's the lifeless effort, you have nights like that. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I trust this team to be better, to bring energy. I trust this team to recover, to respond. I trust that what we saw tonight, we have enough games. We've played 77 games now. Out of those 77 games, how many times have they had games like this? 3, 4, 5? I'm confident that this is an aberration, that this is just something was up, something didn't feel right, and nothing, and the opponent just clicked. Like, I'm not worried. What I am worried about is the trend that they're playing from behind, the trend that they're not in control of these games, the trend that they have to climb uphill, because we know this team doesn't have the shooting to climb uphill consistently. And if the Magic can't fix these first quarter problems, they're going to be exiting from the playoffs very early, regardless of where they're seated. We'll go through the final box score, and then I will get out of here from the Spectrum Center. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV is your destination for sports. From live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire TV stick that you can plug into your existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. Whether it's opening weekend for baseball or the college basketball tournament, you're going to want to have a Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver a constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. That includes all of us at Locked On and most of the big pro leagues and college conferences too. Fire TV channels lets you dive into all of the game analysis, highlights, and more to keep up to date on all of the latest in the world of sports, from March Madness, NBA, MLB, and lots more. Yes, if you probably see me look, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see me looking off to my left, to camera right. Iowa, UConn was on, and I was catching little glimpses of the end of that game. Not to mention, you can check out great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos too. Check out the Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me on this. To learn more, visit www.amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is also brought to you by our friends at Nissan. Are you the kind of driver who likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class-exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on for almost anything. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, Google Play Store are built right into the 12.3-inch HD touchscreen infotainment system. The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. Nissan's incredible lineup also includes the 2024 Nissan Armada. This will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style. Tow bigger and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Nissan Armada and go find your next big adventure. Shop for them today at nissanusa.com. Okay, I think they're about to kick me out of the Spectrum Center here, out of the beautiful Rick Bonnell media room here at Spectrum Center. Rest in peace to our good friend Rick Bonnell. They gave out the scholarship today. Awesome job from everyone there. Really love the Spectrum Center, by the way. It's a really nice building. Almost as good as the Kia Center. Not quite, but almost as good. Media room's nicer than the Kia Center. I'll say that. But want to get this out quickly. Let's go through the final box score real fast for the Orlando Magic here as they fall to the Charlotte Hornets 124-115. Again, Paolo Banchero matched Brandon Miller at the end of the day. Paolo got his points, 32 points, 10 for 26 shooting, 11 for 12 from the foul line, 8 rebounds, 8 assists. He had to do a lot in this game, and I will give Paolo his credit. With the Magic down, with the Magic needing to get something going, he stepped up his play. He carried this team through large chunks of this game. He played 40 minutes in this game. I think we will see some of that in the playoffs, but unfortunately, he had to force a lot of things. He was 10 for 26 from the floor, 1 for 8 from 3. And again, like I said, when you're down, when you're trailing, that's when your stars try to force things. They try to push you a little bit. They try to just get this team over the hump, do whatever they can. Paolo had to do a lot. He had a huge responsibility in this game, and it was a struggle for him. He went through some really hot stretches. He got frustrated at the refs at bad times too, and was a little bit lax on defense. Was really lax on defense, honestly, to be perfectly honest. And so, a good game in some respects, filled up the box score, clearly made a huge impact. Bad game in other respects because he was forcing things and not really letting the game come to him. Charlotte, I thought, did a good job sending double teams his way, really making it difficult for him to find those pockets. But a mixed bag for him. Franz Wagner also a really solid game, though. 22 points, 8 for 16 shooting. Did miss all 4 of his 3-pointers, 6 for 8 from the foul line, 7 rebounds. I really liked what Franz did. He did a good job forcing his way to the basket. The threes weren't falling tonight, but I did like the shots he took. I did like how he got to the basket, how he got to the paint, got to the rim. That's what he's really good at. And so just finding a way to get him more involved. Him getting into foul trouble and having to leave early in the third quarter was a big loss for the Magic. Forced Paolo to play 40 minutes. That's what it did. But Magic's got to find the right synergy. Again, the energy was off in this game. Like, look, Orlando shoots only 44.7%, 9 for 38 from three. So a lot of misses. Again, this may not have been the Magic's night. And the Magic could have played really energetic defense and put themselves in a position to win, and Charlotte would just make tough shots. And again, they won the game if you take out the first quarter, which isn't fair, which isn't the right thing to say. But the Magic played, even though the Magic played about even after the first quarter, again, they're climbing uphill, so that matters. But Charlotte made shots. Charlotte made shots, and this just could have been Charlotte's game where they were going to win this game no matter what. And so I'm not, the result doesn't bug me as much as the effort. I want to repeat that. The result doesn't bug me as much as the effort. The Magic could have played hard and lost. It would have been not their night. Make or miss league, whatever. The effort just wasn't there. And you could see that in everyone else on the roster. Wendell Carter, 13.7 rebounds, was kind of a non-factor all game. Got drawn away from his man a little bit too much. Really struggled just to find his shot and find his places. And he took 10 shots, but find his places. Jalen Suggs was just super quiet. 8 points, 4 for 8 shooting, 0 for 3. He was low energy. This is honestly one of the lowest energy games I've seen from Jalen Suggs all year. And again, he's the head of the snake. Everyone says it. And so when he's low energy, everyone else is low energy. And that, Jalen Suggs having a bad game probably means more than anything else. I think Jamal Mosley was hesitant to put Jalen Suggs back in just because, he just wasn't, his usual frenetic energy wasn't there. And that's something that cost this Magic team a lot. They just weren't able to kind of build the momentum that they needed. Markelle Fultz, though, one of the few bright spots, 15 points, 6 for 11 shooting, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He did bring the energy. I want to give Markelle Fultz a ton of credit. He brought the energy. He got to his spots, made his shots, made shots around the rim. He's not a shooter, but Charlotte still closed out to him like he was. He took that space really, really well. A lot to like about Markelle Fultz's game. If he's playing like this, he'll be a little bit more playable in the playoffs. I don't think Charlotte was super disciplined about knowing personnel, so they closed out to him hard instead of letting him shoot those threes. But he took advantage of that. So Markelle helped the Magic kind of find some life in the second quarter, kind of kept them in this game. I really like the way that he played. But again, the bench, and I wrote a post about the bench. I was writing about the bench and how good their defense was before the game. It'll be up on Orlando Magic Daily tomorrow because I published it already. 2 points from Cole Anthony, 1 for 8 shooting, 3 points from Joe Ingles, really, really bad defensively from Joe Ingles tonight. And then 8 from Mo Wagner, a lot of that coming in the second half as the Magic were trying to get back in the game. Just not enough oomph. I can tell you all these numbers, but the Magic just didn't have enough oomph, just whatever it is. And again, their defense this wasn't Magic defense. This wasn't the second best defense in the league. Brandon Miller scores 32 in about 40 minutes. He played, he scored, 20, he had 19 in the first quarter, 26 at half. So Magic shut him out in the second half. Someone tweeted at me, Brandon Miller's cooking. They really need to get someone on. And I was just like, actually, no, he's not anymore. I'm not, he's, they cooled him off a little bit. They cooled him down. It's 11 for 13, was 10 for 10 at the half. But Miles Bridges had 23. Really, really good game for him. Grant Williams had 18.7 assists. Vasa Micic had 14 points. They got scoring off their bench. Alexei Pokusevsky had 10. Davis Bertans had 12. The Hornets made shots. Again, if the Magic lost this game because the Hornets just made shots, I could live with that. But the Magic lost this game because their defense was not energetic. They made mistakes. The Hornets pounced on it. They were playing from behind the whole way. And it just became just this huge uphill slog that the Magic just weren't able to get themselves out of. So a disappointing evening here at the Spectrum Center for the Magic. They're going to head back home to play the Chicago Bulls on Sunday. One home game before they go back out on a 3-game road trip. So again, we knew the task was going to be very hard here at the end of the season. Orlando's 1-1 on the roads in this 5 of 7 stretch. Got to get the win. Got to take care of your home games here to close the season and obviously right the ship after having such a bad taste in your mouth here. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all foundational podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. You can also check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/OrlandoMagicHub. Your support on the Patreon page allows me to take trips like this to cover the team on the road so that you have independent reporters on the ground for moments like this to ask, hopefully I asked some hard questions. I don't know if I did, but it's good to have independent reporting here on the road, and your support allows me to do that. So please check out my Patreon page. I have a free post up there right now underneath the At the Buzzer post at patreon.com/OrlandoMagicHub. And of course, thank you all for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, though, check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. I got to get out of here. LaMelo Ball is kicking me out. Thanks to the crew at the Spectrum Center here for letting me sit in the media room and record this podcast. Until next time, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.